We often see when an athlete and a coach decide to go their separate ways for a bit as a bit of a negative thing, and you might be a bit fearful of, oh, I don't think things are quite working out. Maybe should I just stay with them and just see if it gets any better, and instead of just cutting ties and walking away. And so today's video is all about why actually breaking up with your coach, or if you're a coach, breaking up with your athlete, whichever way it goes, could actually be the best thing, not only for you, but for the other person as well, and could also lead to a much better path coming back together later down the track. So I'm going to take you through a little bit of my sort of experience with that and some my thoughts around it. But fundamentally, how does breaking up with your coach actually make you a better athlete in the long run? Hey, welcome back to the channel. Nick here, talking science of endurance and everything sports science in general. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing down below to the channel. Click the big red button. Keep up to date with all the latest videos coming on the channel. And if you're looking forward to any of the live streams, anything like that, get your questions in. Send me a DM on Instagram. I'll leave it down the bottom corner here at NJ_sportscience. If you can't make it live on Wednesday nights, I know it's hard for some people who are watching these on the other side of the world, different time zone, things like that. You might have work, whatever it might be. Send your DMs through over on Instagram. Go give me a follow over there. It's the easiest way to get directly in contact with me, get your questions answered. Middle of the week, outside of when we have the live streams, easy way to get in contact with me is through there as well. Always happy to have that chat and conversation. In terms of today's video, as I said in the introduction, it's all about the coach-athlete relationship. And a little bit of my experiences and a bit of what I want to talk through is why going your separate ways at some point in terms of the athlete and the coach maybe going and working with other people is actually a really beneficial component to building a strong relationship in the future. And I take you back a couple of years. I'm not going to name names here. And the athlete that I'm going to be talking about, I'm fortunate enough to now be working with, again, we're just getting things kicked off. And that's really where this video sparks from, is back in 2017, 2018, was working with this really gun amateur athlete, amazing triathlete, incredibly fit, incredibly fast, putting out some incredible times and performances leading up to the Olympic distance worlds at the time in 2018. Was doing a really good solid block of training, accumulated though, and what we can see from down the track, and hindsight's always a bit 2020, is that we're getting into a stage where both of us, from an athlete and a coaching perspective, we're getting burnt out. From the athlete side of things, probably doing a little bit too much volume, mixed in with the stress of work and changing careers and things like that. From my end, doing too much and trying to do too much in terms of coaching too many athletes at one time. I had quite a few of my books up to sort of 15, 20, which for me and the other work that I do, umpiring football, all of that on top of it. But then also at the time as well, we're doing a lot of changes in the workplace, doing some more education side of things, which we still do, but I'm fortunate enough I don't have to have as much of an active role in that anymore because we've grown and developed. But all of these things compounded on both ends of the spectrum that we kind of both just burnt ourselves out. And then what that meant was that neither of us could really give 100% to what we were achieving, and ultimately we didn't end up achieving some of the race results that we potentially would have been after if we tried to continue and just grind it out and push through. And so what we sat down over coffee, decided that going our separate ways for a period of time was going to be good, see where that led. Ultimately, the athlete took a bit of time off training to sort some things out in terms of career, getting some balance back into work life, things like that. I took some time to go away and drop down my coaching workload, drop down some of the other workloads I had so I could really focus and emphasize the performance side of things, get better as a coach, learn a bit more. Ultimately, that's led me to coming back in doing my master's this year, which is really exciting. All of this transition in terms of going away and making ourselves better so that now when we come back together, we look at things from a much different perspective, a much more educated and well-rounded perspective, and sort of understand where did we go wrong before, and we can make that next step forward to be able to improve further. So some of those things already, we've had the discussions about looking at some estimated training loads, what are our volumes going to look like, what does the athlete think is appropriate in terms of how much training they think they can do in a week, what do I think. We looked at some of the data from last time, we already identified, maybe we're considering we're taking on too much too soon, let's bring that back and really just sort of work through what do we actually need to focus on, what are some of our key focus areas too. Last time, swimming was a key focus. We built it a little bit, but it's something that we definitely could have driven even harder. So that's where we're going really aggressive now. All of these little things we're able to take from those learnings from last time, from the learnings of what we did separately as well. I've gone away and learned a hell of a lot more about programming, getting a little bit more creative in my programming, making sure I'm getting the right training stimulus in at the right time, giving athletes enough time at each of those training stimulus as well when we're going race specific or whether we're going base. How to sort of time that a little bit better, understanding a little bit more about physiology. There's always things that we can learn and adapt to the new science that comes out. How can we implement some of that in as well? all of which is going to be beneficial to how I go about it. Going back a couple of years, as much as I'm still quite early in my coaching career, I was extremely early and extremely young in it. There's a whole bunch that I know were along the way I was going to make mistakes, and as athletes make mistakes too in terms of overdoing it in training, pushing through when they maybe shouldn't have. We always make mistakes, but as long as you can learn from those and move forward, then that's really the key. So, like I said, the best thing in this circumstance was for us to go our separate ways and then come back at a better time when it's gonna I guess come all back together, and we're going to be able to move forward beyond where we got to last time. That's what I'm really excited for now. So I've had this happen a few times with athletes, and it's something that I'm quite open and honest, more so these days, particularly early in my coaching career, like first year or so. I was very hesitant to say, oh yeah, I think it's probably time that we just cut things here, have a break, and then we can always come back and revisit it. I was probably a bit hesitant to do that. Now I'm all about it because I can see the value in it. If things aren't working out, things aren't working out. Not every coach at any point in time is going to be the perfect coach for that person. Maybe for a block of 6 to 12 months, me coaching someone is going to be a really, really good thing for them. They're going to really be a really good fit in terms of an athlete towards me as well. Great, we do really well. After that period, the next 6 to 18 months, based on their goals, based on how things change, obviously the world's changed this year as well, based on all of those factors, we may not be a good fit for each other anymore. They may want to go into, for me personally, a lot of my coaching and stuff works around very specific individualized sessions based on the testing data we get in the lab, or field testing, whatever it might be. That doesn't necessarily fit in with an athlete who might want to go out and do lots of group training sessions, work in a squad, all those types of things, and train with other people and be quite social about it. So if an athlete's focus changes, then maybe it is time that I help point them in the right direction, not leave them completely, but help point them in a right direction for them and what's going to actually be more beneficial. And I think that as an industry, we can get better as from a coaching side of things, but also as an athlete. Let's be honest about these. Let's have these open conversations, either direction, whether you're a coach or an athlete. What is the best thing for this relationship and partnership at the end of the day? Because if we can get that balance right, we're on the same page, that's where we're going to achieve the best result. If we're starting to move apart from each other, maybe it is best that we go, take some time away, come back if it works out later on. If it doesn't work out later on, that's okay too. There's no reason why you can't still communicate and start sharing ideas, ask questions, things like that down the track. Because as long as you've built that trust there's always going to be a bit of back and forth, and you're going to be able to work off that, and not maybe officially work together, but in terms of unofficially, just keep in contact and be very supportive of each other. But it's the type of thing that direct side of things, you've got to have that really good, strong, positive relationship where you are working in that same direction. As soon as there's a little bit of friction either way, it can make it a little bit difficult. So they're just my sort of quick thoughts, and I guess a bit of a personal story there around how I've sort of dealt with that. Have you ever had to break up with a coach before? Or if you're a coach watching this, have you ever had to break up with an athlete before? How'd you handle it? Always let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are on these types of topics. Always happy to have a great discussion about it. It's something I found has been really beneficial, but it's also something that I understand, like in the future, if it's another thing that comes up, it is just part of the way that life goes as well. So hopefully you enjoyed a little bit of my insight around the coach-athlete relationship. I'm going to touch on this a little bit more on the channel because I think it's a really important part, particularly of what we do in endurance. That communication, that relationship, that trust aspect between the coach and the athlete is really, really critical to making sure we get the results we're after. As always, continue to subscribe to the channel. Keep sharing these videos so we can keep growing the community. The more people we can get to subscribe to the channel, the better. More people we can get into live streams will be awesome as well. Keep asking those great questions. Like I said, head over to Instagram, send me a DM if you're interested in asking a very specific question, maybe a bit more of a personal question too about your circumstances. Always happy to answer it there. Get in contact. Maybe we can set up a Zoom call if you want to chat any further about any questions about science of endurance, your training, etc. Head on over, check it out. There's always some great little posts on there that I put up that might be some slightly different content to what happens up here on YouTube as well. So always great to check out all of those bases. Otherwise, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully you got a bit out of this video today. That is it for today, and we'll see you in the next one.